Hello and welcome to my segment for the Beyond Enough Live Summer Summit. I am so honored to be asked to contribute to this incredible event because I believe so much in collaboration in relationships and listen in women bigging each other up and coming together and sharing their stories and helping each other have the breakthroughs and paving the way for what's coming behind us. My name is Antoinette Coffey, and I am a business and leadership mentor. And identity and leadership is my jam. It is where my heart lies. It has completely changed my life. It has changed the trajectory of my business, of my life, of my family's life, of the generational cycles that have been repeated for years and years before me. And I have I guess I've been on a journey, which I'm going to go into now. I don't have this scripted. I have a few notes. If you look at me looking, I'm not gonna lie, I have notes. But this is very much from the heart, from the soul, and off the cuff. And I want to show you what the journey has been like for me from my entire life, but as an online entrepreneur for the last 5 years until to the point where I am now. Like I said, at the moment, I am an identity. I call myself the Irish leadership and identity queen because my work is about dismantling the old stories so you can break the patterns from past. It's about getting to the root of those beliefs that have created the thoughts, the feelings, actions, and habits that have created the reality that you're living right now. So I'm going to just give you a bit of a history about my business first. I started my business in 2020 as a life coach for stressed, burnt out, overwhelmed moms, which was the previous version of me at that stage. And I really wanted to show women that they didn't need to struggle, that they didn't need to settle, that it was within themselves to change their lives. And it wasn't something outside of them, wasn't causing their burnout, wasn't causing their overwhelm or their anxiety or their resentment. It was all within themselves. And knowing that it's within yourself gives you an opportunity to choose to change and to create new opportunities and experiences in your life. But as the saying goes, if you don't know, you don't know. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. So it is about not just having the awareness, but also doing something with that. So I started my business in 2020 as a life coach, and this was the work I did with women. And there were a lot of women in corporate, in corporate different sectors, same things, same issues coming up, same beliefs, same fears, same insecurities, same doubts. And when I did that deep work with women, it really, I suppose, it was where I was at, like in terms of I had just come through a similar situation, and I was really passionate about helping women not, um, how would I say, like not repeat the mistakes that, sorry, I just want to press something on here now. Not repeat the mistakes that I had made. It was my, I guess, my vision at that stage when I started my business was to show women that they didn't need to stay in situations that didn't light them up, that they didn't need to stay around people in jobs, in environments, in constructs that they had created that weren't serving them for their highest good. Because I think that a lot of women get to a stage, you know, they tick the boxes, they get the career, have the children, find the husband, or maybe find the husband first, whichever, have the create the family, build a home, and then they kind of sit back and it's like, is this it? Oh, so I thought there was going to be something more. And a lot of women then just settle in for the long road and just say, well, this is the situation I'm in. And I wanted to show women that you don't need to settle. So that was where I was. And that was very much because that was my journey again, which I will get into now. And then last year, I spent 2024 literally elbows deep in leadership. I trained in leadership with an international organization in the state. Now, I didn't go to the States. I was still in Dublin, sitting behind this laptop at my desk, doing like all nighters when my family were asleep. I'm there learning about leadership, being leadership, because leadership isn't something that you do. It's not something that you dip in and out of. Oh, I'm doing leadership today. It's leadership is who you are. It's how you lead every decision. It's how you take every step. It's how you make every move. It is being in leadership, being a leader. So I spent 2024, the first half of 2024, studying leadership and being a student of leadership. And then I was asked to go back and be a coach. So to actually sit on the staff team to support another batch of students on their journey. And it was from that work, I think, that I began to see myself and not just see myself as the caricature that I had created throughout my life, the funny one. She's a little bit bold. She's a little bit funny to be around. I'm very funny to be around, but she's inspiring. She says what she thinks. She's brave. But actually, there was far more depth to who I am. There is far more power in who I am. And sometimes that external character that I had created throughout my life, even though I'm still her, like I'm still funny, I'm still bold, I'm still courageous, I'll still say what I think, there was more depth to me. There was more power. I had more inside of me that I had ever given myself credit for. And it was unlocked in my leadership journey. So I decided at the beginning of this year that something that had come up for a lot of my clients was the big barrier to them creating the freedom-based life that they desired was liberation. No, financial liberation, 1,000,000%. Financially, it can all be well and good. You want to leave your corporate job, but if you've got mortgage and you've got bills to pay and you've got mouths to feed and you've got responsibilities and obligations, it's not that easy. And we can all say like sit and manifest it and hope and all that. But like at the end of the day, in real life, it's not that easy to just click your fingers and say, I'm going to become an entrepreneur and I'm going to just figure out the bills. And, you know, so, and I'll explain how I navigated that journey as well. But, so the financial liberation was one thing, but it was also time liberation. And not like, oh, I want to get rid of things. No, it was about holding firm on the boundaries so that women felt empowered to say no, to release, to move away from situations that was draining their time. So time liberation, because listen, time is your most precious asset. It's the most precious because you can't buy it and you most certainly can't get it back. And when it's over, it's lights out. So time liberation, energy liberation. I saw so many women who were pumping all their energy into situations that didn't serve them, people that weren't supportive of them, situations that they had sort of fell into by default. And suddenly these women were living a life where they were pouring all their energy into things that actually didn't light them up, wasn't their children. Well, it might have been their children, but not in the right way, you know? So I felt that women were drained of their energy. There was so much anxiety, stress, and burnout. And everybody's looking outside of themselves for the answer. Oh, it's like it's in another course, it's in a meditation, it's in my new job, new house, new. And it was all inside. And that's the big message that I want to now in my own job, and everything I do is about like recognizing that you have the capacity within yourself to completely change your life. And I hate that term of like, oh, you're only one decision away from a completely different life, because you're not. Yeah, you can make one decision and it can change the trajectory. Yeah. But then you have to keep making another decision and another decision and another decision. And you have to keep compounding those empowered decisions in order to retrain your nervous system, in order to create a new neural pathways for the new life that you want to create. So it's not about one decision. It's not. Yes, one decision can change the trajectory, but one decision can change it back. So it's about making this compounding decisions after one, after the other, after the other. And that is where the energy was leaking. People might have been making one decision and trying to step this way. And then it was like 3 steps back, something would happen and they would revert to the default settings. So there was an energy liberation, time liberation, financial liberation. And finally, the one which really speaks to my soul is liberation from the past, liberation from your beliefs, from your conditioning, from your programming, from your trauma. Because really, your past is exactly what I say it is. It's in the past. It is gone. What you choose to do with that is on you. So yes, shitty things happen. Shitty things happen in life. Shitty things happen, good people, all of the fucking time. Yes, excuse me, I'll try not to drop an F-bomb, but they might slip out. Shitty things happen, good people, all of the time. And there's a choice to either sit in the pity party, the poor me, the victim, or just call it what it is. That was a shitty thing that happened. It's hurt me. I'm sad. I'm wounded. I'm hurt. I need to heal. I need to process. I need to release. And then I get to move on. And I don't make it mean something about me or other people. It just is. Your past just is. And you choose what you do with it. And when people realize that you can have liberation from your past, even if you went through the most traumatic experiences, you get to choose what you do with it and the meaning that you make from it. Some people use their past experience as motivation. It's what drives them to do more. And it's a mindset shift. It's just recognizing that you have the power to choose, that you don't need to be defined by your past. So that is why I'm all about liberation. And in 2025, I decided that I was going to really support women who are in the game of entrepreneurship, to support them to do the inner work so that the external would mirror the up leveling that was happening inside. Because again, in my time as a coach in a business, I met a lot of other entrepreneurs who were moms just like me. And what I saw was the same patterns arising, the same beliefs, the same limitations, the same doubts, the same fears. And it was stopping these incredible, soul led, passionate women from taking their business from okay, mediocre to next level. And I saw people leave business. I saw friends give up and just say, I can't do it. This is not working. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm not made for entrepreneurship. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe I should just go back to my 9 to 5, to my easy, safe, secure job where I know I can predict what's going to happen. I'm going to have money in the bank every month. Okay, so I'm not really love it. Okay, so the people don't really light my fire. But look, it pays the bills. Kids are safe. I'm safe. I'll deal with it. Bottle of wine every Friday night. It'll be fine. And it's like, no, 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 no. The 9 to 5 narrative has got to go. If you are in a 9 to 5 that lights your soul up, that really gets your juices flowing, that you wake up and go like, look, none of us going to love getting up in the morning, but that you wake up and go, I can't wait to get into work. I can't wait to finish that project. I can't wait to make that phone call. This job really lights me up. Yes, it's long days. Yes, it's busy, but fuck me, I love it. No shame in your game. You knock yourself out. We need you in the workforce because the women like that, they're pushing the needle in corporate, in public services. These women are needed in the roles they're in, but only when they have created an environment and in their job, in their work, that is conducive to the person that they want to be and the life that they want to lead. So 2025, I decided I am going to be the one who supports business owners to level up their business, but to level up their internal identity in a mirror alongside. Because honestly, trust me, I have been in spaces with 7-figure earners. I have been in spaces with people who have had no money coming in. And there's fears on both sides. Just because people are earning 7 figures doesn't mean that they have transcended every single fear. It just means there's another layer that they get to unpack. Because with every breakthrough, with every up level in business and in identity, there's a whole new stuff. There's a whole new layer going to come on top. So every time you're making moves with your business, you're going to have to cut away and release and process and move through another level of fear. So don't sit there thinking that, oh, well, once I hit my 20K, 50K, 100K months, then it's going to be easy. Then I'm just going to walk in and then there's just going to be no internal stuff coming up. You're wrong. The internal stuff keeps on coming because as you get to another layer in your business, you're met with another level of fear because it's something new. It might be going to a new income level that you have never held this much money before. So you have got to calibrate your internal with your external, or you will self-sabotage. That's just how it is. That's just a fact. If your business is going on ahead and your identity is stuck back here, you will self-sabotage and bring your business back to here. You just will, because your nervous system is operating on autopilot. It's operating completely away from your consciousness. So when you take all these steps in business and you do all these things and suddenly you're having this success and income is coming in, if you haven't calibrated your nervous system to feel safe, holding more income, holding more people, holding more responsibility, and you haven't locked in that you can trust yourself to hold all this, your nervous system will self-sabotage. And I'll get into what that actually looks like. And I might not do it today because that's a lot of the work that I do. And I know this is kind of about the journey, but I will talk about it. But your brain is wired to keep you safe, to keep you comfortable, and to keep you familiar. Now, think about that. If you're leveling up your business and you're taking your business to a whole new level and you're going to do something that you've never done before, and you're going to be around people who are way further along in the game than you, and you're going to have to stand on stage or you're going to have to speak in front of all these people, is the identity of that person going to be able to hold the conviction and the certainty that's needed in those moments? No. So your nervous system will go, no, we don't feel safe here. We don't know these people. This is uncomfortable. This is unfamiliar. Even though it's what you want, subconsciously, you haven't programmed yourself to expect this, to believe at a soul level that you deserve this. So your nervous system kicks in and goes, no, abort mission, we are out of here. And you will make excuses and you will find reasons and you will justify your inaction of staying comfortable. And nothing happens staying comfortable. It is mediocre. It is the conspiracy of mediocrity is happening in your comfort zone. So the inner calibration to the external upgrading is necessity. Like, it is the crux of business. And if you see 7-figure earners, you see people making, I don't know, 100K in a week, they've done this work. They know that's how they're there. There is no business owner hitting all those figures consistently. Like, they might hit it once, but again, if the nervous system kicks in and goes, no, we don't feel safe, disappear. Those earners that you see that are making that money all the time, that are growing their business all the time, they know this. They've cracked this internal, external calibration code. And that is how their business is doing so well. So I keep deviating, but like I said, there is no notes here. So whatever comes through me comes out. So that was my journey into 2025. I started to support online entrepreneurs to calibrate their internal to their external by dismantling the stories from the past so they could release the past, find that liberation and move on, move up, level up. The sky is the limit. It is penthouse energy only in my world. And it is really coming down. Like, I'm not the messaging queen. I am not the strategy queen. I am the identity and leadership queen. That is my zone of genius. That what lights me up, because I can see when someone says, oh, the strategy isn't where, my strategy is not working. I'm doing blah, 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 blah. I'm putting out content every week. I'm saying everything. I'm following the plug and play, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm able to spot in the moment the internal resistance, the internal avoidance. And I don't just spot it from the signs that you're telling me. I notice body language. I notice how you're showing up. I notice little gestures, tiny Freudian slips that you might make, a tone change, a gesture, and eyes looking away. I pick up on those things, and that's where I'm able to go, okay, what's really going on? What's underneath this? Because if you're putting all the work in and you're doing all the strategy, there's an internal calibration that needs to happen. Maybe there's something we need to release. Maybe there's something we need to let go of. Maybe there is somewhere that you need to go that you haven't gone before, so that we can get to the root of what is causing the resistance, what is causing the doubt. And once you get to the root and you dismantle it, you can move forward. You can create a new belief, a new thought, a new feeling, a new action, a new habit, new results. That's how it works. It's actually not, it's actually because your identity is made up. I know I'm totally going off like anywhere I was going, but I'm just going to go with this. Your identity is made up of your beliefs, your conditioning, which feed into your thoughts, which feed your feelings, which feed your emotions. And your emotions then, well, two things. Your emotions feed your actions and your habits, and they also set the frequency that you are operating from, the frequency that you are putting out to the universe. So energy is, emotion is energy in motion. So your emotions determine the energy that is going out and the frequency that you're operating on. So it all comes back to beliefs, thoughts, feelings, emotions, habits, actions, habits, results. And that's like, you can reverse engineer that. Anyway, That is identity work. And that is why identity and leadership is so important. Leadership is taking the action. Leadership is moving from your vision. Having a GPS, like it's like putting the destination into the GPS, is like putting your vision and deciding on your vision. And then somehow leadership will get you there. You might take a few wrong turns, but you will get there once you have a clear vision. So I just want to talk a little bit more about my story because it's colorful, it's pretty dark, but I just want to show people who have experienced things in their life that haven't been amazing, and that, you know, there's very much a feeling in my world that you don't need to be defined by what's happened to you. So I have experienced so much loss and grief and utter sadness, and I have used it as fuel. Not always. The cloud was over me for a while, but I did use it as fuel. So when I was 17, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. When I was 21, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. So from from the age of 17, I lived a very different life to everybody else because I never knew which Christmas would be the last. I never knew which birthday would be the last. So every time a big event would happen, birthday, Christmas, any of those, my first thought would always be, is this going to be the last one we have with her or with him? And, you know, at the time, I'm 17, like, you know, I didn't obviously, like, I still lived my 17 and 20-year-old lives. Like, I still had a fucking great time because my parents were absolute heroes who always encouraged us to continue to live our lives. And they lived theirs. They worked, they had chemo on a Tuesday, work on a Thursday. And my mom was an absolute powerhouse until she passed away. And my dad was the same. But as a 17-year-old, there was an embedded belief that life was very fleeting, that life was quite unfair, that one phone call can change your life, and that every single day you should live as if it is going to be your last. So my 20s with that fear that this will be the Christmas, this will be the scan that's bad, this will be the time that it ends. And I guess that really changed me at a very, very visceral level because I became someone who didn't really get caught up in like bullshit shitty things. Like I didn't do drama with like boy drama or any of that. I just don't have time. I didn't have time for it. I don't have time for this shit because I realized how insignificant that is. And sometimes I wish I got to just live in a bubble of being carefree, but I didn't. And that was my journey, and that was why I am where I am today. So I'm just trying to look through my notes to make sure I haven't missed anything. But my mum was an absolute legend. But the sad thing was she passed away when I was 27. So she lived with cancer for 10 years, fought her absolute heart out, and then decided I can't fight anymore. And it changed me in terms of, she always went to work. She always encouraged us to carry on with our lives. She never, I think I saw her cry once in 10 years over being sick. Like, I think once I saw her cry. And I remember it made me kind of realize, you know, like, I don't get to be the victim in this. Like, because she's out there, she's going to work, she's living her life. She has lost her hair. She is on treatment every few weeks. She is so ill sometimes. And yet she still puts her best foot forward and she leads her life. So she set the tone for me. She set the tone for the legacy that I'm creating. She died when I was 27. And then for the next 10 years, my dad continued to be sick. And like, I know that sounds mad, continued to be sick, but he was. And it was on and off, and he was having treatment every 2 months for years and years and years. And in the meantime, I had my boys. I met my husband. Now I did have a past partner where I bought a house, and 2 months later I moved out because I realized I did not want to be planting tomatoes in the garden with him, and then I had made an absolute fuck up of a mistake. And instead of flogging a dead horse and staying there and breaking his heart, or even bringing children into the picture, I walked and I left. And I didn't realize this until I'm actually sharing the story now. Like, that was an identity that I left, and I walked away from it because it wasn't who I wanted to be. I didn't want to be that wife who was sitting drinking a bottle of red wine every night. And that was who I was. So I remember I had this fabulous house in a beautiful area in Dublin, mortgage, everything sorted, and I walked. I left. I moved into the tiniest little box room with people who I didn't know, with living out of cardboard boxes. And then I met my husband. And listen, it's happily ever after since that. But that, I suppose, sets the tone for how I live my life. If I'm not, if I'm out, I'm out. Like if it's not serving me and I don't feel that I can stand in integrity with another person, it's not for me. Same with jobs, same with, anyway. So when I was 37, we got married. My boys, 6, Shay was 3. My dad had been sick that year, and none of us were talking about it, but we could all see it. He had quite a large tumor here in his neck, and we were very good at avoiding sometimes where we just didn't want to go there because we knew it was going to be inevitable. But we got married in April, and in May my dad had surgery and he went on really strong medication, and in September he sadly passed away. And again, there was this, it's hard to describe. I can't even put into words the loss when you lose both your parents, because you don't lose both your parents, just your parents. Like, yes, you lose your parents, but you lose your comfort blanket, you lose your safety net, you lose your link with the past, with your childhood. Memories died with them. We don't remember ourselves as children. They do. They're gone. People ask me like, "Oh, what time are you born?" I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, and I'm like, "I can't ring anybody. It's written in a baby book at home. Don't get me wrong." But there's things like that. Losing them. I lost so much more. And as a result, listen, grief is a cruel mistress, but it does. Time is the best healer, and I don't mean to sound cliched, but she really is. And as time went on, I learned and I grew, and everything that they had instilled in me throughout my life, it kicked in. The skills, the resilience, all those things that they had taught me to be and that they had modeled for me kicked in. And I led my life and I moved on. And I think probably I did park it slightly. I remember feeling this unnerving fear that something bad was going to happen and that they weren't there to save me. And there was a lot of things I had to work through, but I did. And then that was in 2018. My dad passed away. 2019 was fairly non-eventful. I think it probably just passed by in a blip. It was grief filled. It was whatever. Then 2020 hit. Now at this stage, I was managing a large early years service in Dublin. So I had 100 children. That's, by the way, side note, I am an early years educator as a career. That's what I have done. So by this stage, I was managing a large service. I had taken this full-time job, even though I didn't really want to, because I was like, okay, Antoinette, you need to get yourself a mortgage, another one. You need to fucking put your big girl pants on. And, so I did all this and I took the job, and it was almost, I won't say it was worse than my parents passing away, but it was fucking hardcore. It was in the inner city in Dublin. It was working with really disadvantaged families, a lot of addiction. I'm having to literally change my identity on a day, whoever I'm talking to. I had to scan people. Is this person a threat? Are the children in danger here? Like, there was a lot. Like, there was a lot in that terms of it. Then the staff were just challenging. My manager was extremely unsupportive, and I was in this situation where I just really, again, I had kind of manifested a situation where I was drinking the bottle of wine. I wasn't drinking the wine every night, but it was a bottle of wine every Friday night, and I felt trapped, so hopeless. I felt so helpless. I didn't know who to talk to. I had My parents were gone, and it was just a really challenging few years. Again, now looking back, it has served me because it taught me what I'm not willing to settle for anymore, where I'm not willing to go, where I'm not willing to lower my standards. So 2020 hit, and COVID, and anybody who worked during COVID, you might have worked on the front lines, or maybe you were working from home, but I'm like in charge of a service, and I'm being given directions by the government to open up, to do this, to do that, and I have to organize the whole reopening of an early year cert. Well, firstly, I had to translate it, or to transfer the operations from face to face, obviously, to online. So we had to move the whole service online and reach the kids and create Zooms and all that kind of thing. And then the COVID protocols were announced and we were allowed to open back up, and I had to oversee all that. Now, I think back now and I think, how am I so good at the strategic part of the business? And it's because of this. I do kind of go, I don't necessarily have a business qualification, but how am I so good at strategically planning and strategically thinking? And it's this. My zone of genius around operations kicked in, to detail, to forethinking. Anyway, I had to oversee all the stuff. in the business and or in the service, and we did it and it was amazing and everything was good. And then in September 2020 was where my life changed irreprehensibly in a good way. So as you know, like I had lived with this trauma for 20 years. So basically my mom got sick when I was 17. My dad died when I was 37. So from 17 to 37, my life was never my own in terms of like I always had to prioritize where they were, my parents were, how they were feeling, where and I obviously that's not in a bad way. Like I loved them and I wanted to do that. But this was the first time when they passed away that I could actually think of like, well, what do I want, or what, you know. Now I had to make those decisions on my own, and like from somebody who played the good girl as a young child, who always wanted to please and kind of be the fixer and be the solver, it was new for me to have to make my own decisions and almost stand on my own 2 feet. But 2020 happened and everyone in my job, I don't know, I went for a week off and I came back and a load of stuff had been done and said when I was gone. And I had a really, really difficult, quite traumatic meeting with my boss. And I was accused of a lot of things that I hadn't done. And I wasn't given an opportunity to defend myself. And I just felt this complete hopelessness and helplessness again. And I felt this complete betrayal, lack of trust, and it felt like another death. I'm not going to lie, it really, really did felt like another death, because this was a job where I had worked for 16 years with people who I thought were my friends, who I trusted, who were at my wedding, and they all talked about me and tried to ruin my life. They tried to ruin my career. They tried to ruin my reputation, um, and they nearly did. That again was like another death. It really, really was. It was like another death. And almost now looking back, it was the death of that identity, the victim identity, her, the one who had lived her life dealing with scans and sick parents and pity me and making excuses and having a really good excuse, by the way. But also someone who never really stood in her own power, because I was always what I wanted and what I needed never really mattered. So I had this horrific meeting with my boss. Everyone in my job had made up a load of stuff about me. Nobody had, now not everybody had made up stuff, but a couple of people had. There was evidence in like clocking cards and stuff like that that it was bullshit. I was never given an opportunity to defend myself, which actually was really probably the most hard thing. But so you're talking, parents passed away. My dad had just died 2 years earlier. COVID had happened, which was massive trauma. My husband was out of work for the first time. And then this just comes out of nowhere. And then I took some time off and I took some time away and I went through a massive grieving process. And I think I probably grieved both my parents and the life that I had, the, my life, in those 8 weeks. I was off work, and I'm not going to get into too much of what happened in those weeks, but it was rough. It was rough. It was rough. I ended up on anti-anxiety medication because I couldn't even string a sentence together, couldn't get my thoughts straight. But it led me to coaching. And I remember I met somebody and she was saying, maybe, because I was saying, I don't want to go for counselling again. I've been for counselling. I was like, I don't want to talk about this again. Like, I'm actually all talked out. I'm fine. My parents are gone. It was really hard. I've talked through it. And they were like, oh, I was like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. So I went for coaching and I was like, I could do this. Like, this is what I do in my job. I coach parents, I coach staff, I coach children. This is what I do in my life. Let's get a qualification in it. So I did the training, and it was like, it just opened my eyes to all the ways that I had generated situations that I was living, how my people pleasing and my fixer identity that I had held on to really proudly was actually a very wounded child who felt that she needed to prove herself to feel loved, accepted, validated. I realized that my humor, which, like, I'm really proud of my humor, by the way, because I am pretty funny, but I realized that my humor was also a defense mechanism. It was a protection behavior that I had adopted in order to diffuse situations, in order to make situations at home better. Like, you know, living with parents, my dad particularly was very traditional, not very affectionate. There was no I love you, like, ever, ever. And a very, very different, very old traditional way of growing up. And I never, as a child, probably felt seen until I was doing something that felt worthy. So I had a lot of trust, worthiness, validation, wounds, and it had generated the personality of who I was. So I did this coaching training and I saw myself for the first time. I realized that I was a product of my life, but I didn't have to be, and that I had got an opportunity to choose. So losing my mother. And this was something that, because I was 27 when I lost her, I wasn't a mother at that stage. I was a very different person. When I became a mother, oh, and something else happened actually that year when I started coaching. Um, no, actually, hang on, I'm jumping ahead. Yeah, so anyway, I had to sit with the wounds of losing my mother, which was very, very hard as a mother. Because I was 27, I'm just like, oh yeah, I was really sad, but I was quite selfish. And then when I was a mother and I got to sit with the wounds of losing her, and I realized from a mother's point of view, like, she didn't get to see me grow up. She didn't get to see her grandchildren. She never got to see any of us get married. She never got to experience life. But bear in mind, my mom got sick when she was 49. She died when she was 59. So there was so much of her life that she missed. So in my coaching journey, I got to process a lot. So like I said, what happened in 2020 was horrific, and it was a death, but it was also a rebirth. So I did my coaching training, and by the end of it, I was like, right, this is what I want to do. This is what I was sent here to do, to change the narrative, to support other women just like me, to help people realize that the change is within themselves. And then I just went, yeah, sorry, I'm just making sure that I am recording. Because imagine if I wasn't. Yeah, sorry. I just was like, did I press record? Anyway, so I just was like, this is what I'm sent here to do. This is why all this has happened to me. Because I was meant to be on this journey, and I was meant to be on this path. I was meant to realize all this so that I could impact the masses, so that I could create a movement of women who are no longer willing to settle. So this is kind of, say, 2021. COVID is still like, just, the world is on its axis and I'm in my own bubble. And I remember sitting in my office one day, probably like that summer, and my sister sent me a video of Shay, my youngest son. He was only 2 and he was singing happy birthday. And I started to cry because I couldn't remember him. And that is really, really challenging. That is a really, really fucking hard thing to say. I couldn't remember him. I couldn't remember his sound, the way his voice sounded. I had been so distracted with all the crap that was happening in my toxic work environment, in my job, in my business, and the lifestyle that I had created, by the way, that I had missed opportunities with my kids. And that broke me, because my kids are my life, by the way. Like, my kids are my absolute, that's it. Um, so it was in sitting on that desk that day, and I was like, right, I'm out. Like, this is it. I'm out. Like, I will never, ever, ever sacrifice time with those boys for anyone or anything ever again. So I set the wheels in motion, and a part-time job came up, and I said to my husband, I don't care how I make this work. I will do anything. Like, I will work nights somewhere else to pay for not having to come here and for not having to live like this anymore. I want to be at home with my boys. I want to be the face they see at the school gates. That is how I want my life to go. I don't want to have other people. I don't want to outsource my childcare anymore. I want her that I'll be proud of, because I saw how quickly my own mother's life had changed. I saw how quickly her mother role was taken away from her. I was only 17. Like, my son is 13. Like, when I think about that now, my mom it was 4 years. So, like, Charlie has his whole life and I get to be a part of it. So those moments, this is what I'm saying about, like, what shaped me was that early life, but not in a bad way, not in a pity me, poor me, but in a, like, I'm not settling for anything less than incredible. So I set about, I got the part-time job. I worked 9 to 1, and it was an easy, small service. And I got to be at the school for my kids every day, and I started my business. So that happened in 2021. And in between 2021 and 2025, I have been coaching women. I have been doing the work. Now, I built my business on hustle, on busyness. So when the kids, I'm in work from, say, 9 to 1, I would spend time in my business. Like, I would spend time with the kids. And then at night, in the evenings, excuse me, I get up at 5 in the morning to work on my business. So I did hustle, and I built the business on hustle. And again, looking back now, it has served me, but I had to get to a point where I realized this isn't necessarily how I want to live the rest of my life either, because I'm recreating. Have you noticed a pattern? I started to recreate the life that I had tried to escape from. I was on the cusp of recreating the busy, stressed, anxious, burnt out, overwhelmed person again, because I hadn't gone back. At that stage, I hadn't done the deeper subconscious work. I hadn't gone back to the root of the behaviors. I was aware of them. So I knew why I was a people pleaser. I knew why I had this good girl thing. I knew why that I was always looking for validation because I didn't get it as a kid. I knew how I had created patterns and stuff like that. But awareness is one thing. But actually getting back to that root experience, actually sitting with yourself as a child and giving that child version of you what you needed in that moment so that you can create a new belief system, which will create new thoughts, which will create new feelings, which will generate a different emotion, which puts out a different energy and creates different actions, habits, and results. And that was the piece that I was missing. So 2024, leadership. And that unlocked the next level identity. That unlocked the Antoinette that you see sitting. Actually, no, because I've had so many, you have so many level ups, but she's very much there. Because what I did was I sat with myself and I realized how these experiences from my childhood was showing up in my business. And I realized where self-sabotage was kicking in because I didn't feel safe, because it felt unfamiliar, because it felt like I was under pressure. So I would self-sabotage and I would make excuses, and I was absolutely amazing at making excuses, by the way. Um, and it was in my leadership journey that I realized that awareness wasn't going to be enough to change the trajectory of my life, because even though I had that awareness, I had recreated the same situation in my business. Busy, overwhelmed, burnt out, anxious, a bit of poor me, all that kind of thing. So I had created the same narrative, just with a completely different surroundings. But I had, and that was when I realized it was all within me, because I had a strategy, I had messaging frameworks, so there was nothing I didn't have in my business, but I still felt I needed to prove myself. I needed to do more to have more. And it was all from the stories, the conditioning, and the beliefs from my early life. So leadership gave me the opportunity to get to the root, to go back, to give my child self the love, the validation, the acceptance, the care that she wanted in that moment. And by the way, no shame on my parents or anyone who's looking back thinking, oh, my mom did X, Y, and Z. Your parents did the best they could with what they knew. And so did mine. Like, there was not, I knew my parents loved me. My dad just couldn't say it because it was probably never said to him. So there was all these, like, in my leadership journey, that there was so many outbreaks, breakthroughs, that I didn't realize even needed it. Because I guess I had transfixed, so my parents been sick, but that was only from 17. There was so much more from up to 17 that had shaped the person that I had become, that I needed to get to the root of. And that was the work that I did in 2024 in my leadership journey. And that was when I really started to see myself. I was going to take this down because I want to make sure that I know. Yeah. So that was 2024. And that was when I really started to see myself as, like, powerful and brave and capable and able, and, all the things that I would have never usually said about myself. So slowly, but piece by piece, I rebuilt myself. And that is why 2025, I said, you know what, this is where I need to be. I need to help other women who are getting to that same ceiling in their business. They're getting to that same blockade in their business, whereby maybe they've created the old life that they led within their own business, and they now start to believe that they're broken, that it's not for them, that nothing works for them, that maybe it's other people who have that success. And I need to get that message out, and that's why I'm so passionate here today, is that, like, it is all within you. And no matter what happened to you in a past life, no matter what happened to you in your early life, you always have an opportunity to choose, because everything is neutral until you put meaning on it. I'm going to say that again. Everything is neutral until you put meaning on it. And at any point, you can change the meaning that you put on a situation to create a new belief, a new feeling, a new thought, a new feeling, a new emotion, new habit, new action, new habit, new result. So everything in your life is neutral. Even if you have experienced the worst trauma, you have a choice. You can put meaning on it and say, oh, poor me, this is awful. I was so hard done by, I was so badly treated, blah, 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 blah. And that means that I'm going to carry that, and I'm going to wear that, and I'm going to, like, not do this, or I'm going to show up in this way, or I'm going to avoid doing this because this happened me. Like, yeah, okay, it happened you. And with love in my heart, I hope you can process and release it. But now you get to choose, because the past is in the past. The future is where it's at. So this is why, again, leadership is so important to me, because it's all about having the vision. And your vision is, like I said, you're getting into the car, you're going on a journey, you put the destination into the GPS and it finds a route. Your vision is the destination in your GPS, and then you find a route. And leadership means taking action no matter what. even without evidence, even when it doesn't make sense. It's moving the needle towards your vision. That is such a great way of living, because you don't get defined by your past anymore, because you've dismantled it all and you recognize, like, all right, oh, that comes from that. And like I said, with every up level, there is a new layer of fears. This is never over. Like the leadership game and the game of identity is never over, because you're always being reborn. You're always like the butterfly. You're always, being reborn into somebody new that is going to be a match for the life that you want to lead now. Because the life I wanted to lead 5 years ago is very different from the life I want to lead now. My kids were smaller, my priorities were different. So my identity has to be a match for the life that I want to live now, so that there is alignment, because with alignment comes manifestation. And like, I don't think, oh, manifestation is a manifestation of the thoughts and the actions in alignment. Because if your thoughts are like, oh, well, maybe I'm not good enough, or what if I fuck it up, or what if I get it wrong, what if people don't like me, but your actions are like, I'm going to sell every day, I'm going to get out there and put my face out there, I'm going to put my offers out there. Like, think about it. There's a misalignment between what you believe and what you're doing. So you're not going to be a match. The universe isn't going to come and meet you, because it's out of alignment. So alignment is your beliefs and your actions on the same page, so that you manifest that, so that there is alignment and there's alchemy. So that is why having a vision and moving towards your vision is always important, because you ask yourself, well, why am I doing that? Because I believe that I deserve to have X, Y, and Z, millions in the bank, my dream home, 4 holidays a year, a business that earns while I'm asleep, high caliber clients, speaking on stages, writing books, appearing on podcasts, being spoken in rooms that I'm not even there. Like, if that's the life you want to lead, your beliefs about yourself have to match that. Because if that's what you believe about yourself and that's your vision, having a belief system that's based on doubt and fear and insecurity is not a match. So your actions aren't going to match your identity, and your actions aren't going to match the vision, because you're going to self-sabotage. Because your subconscious is responsible for 95% of what you say and do, and how you act. So even if your actions are empowered, even if you're taking actions, I guarantee if your beliefs aren't in alignment, you will take some actions and then back away. You will say, oh, nothing happened, people don't want to buy, I'm out. You will make excuses. You will hustle. Again, by the way, hustle is a nervous system response. You think you're hustling because you're like so busy and so productive. You're not. You're hustling because you're in fear, you're working in lack, you're operating from scarcity. Hustle is fight. It's like, I'm going to work. It's go. It's actually a nervous system response. Business gets to feel easy. And I don't mean like, oh, it's like it gets to feel easy. You have to work. You have to put the strategy in place. You've got to build the systems. You've got to get support. You've got to understand what you're doing, who you're talking to, how you're talking, what is it you're selling, how do you sell to these people, how do you create a soul-led movement, how do you create freedom. Yeah, obviously you have to know all that stuff. You can't just sit there and sit in your hands and manifest a business and millions. Like, it doesn't work that. But also, you don't have to hustle really hard. It gets to flow when everything is in alignment, because your beliefs are in alignment with your actions, and they are all in alignment with the vision that you're creating. And then in turn, the universe does its thing, and it creates opportunities. It creates experiences that will elevate you, your business, where you're going. Because you have a thing called a reticulating activating system, which is like the lens that you see the world through. And it's the gateway between your conscious and your subconscious. And that gets programmed, like I said, throughout your life. And what that does is that picks up in your actual world the opportunities that are aligned with your beliefs. So if you believe that you're not good enough, that you might fuck it up, that people don't buy from you, your reticulating activating system is going to, in your conscious lens, pick up all the evidence to back up that belief. So if your beliefs are in lack and scarcity, your reticulating activating system is programmed to pick up evidence that back up that lack and scarcity belief. So that is the window from your subconscious beliefs to your conscious lens, is your reticulating. And why, I don't even, it's not shaped like that. And that is how you, and when you start to take action that's aligned with your vision, You compound a new belief. Because having a new belief and be like, I am abundant, saying it in front of the mirror, I'm abundant, I'm abundant, I'm abundant. That's what a lot of people try to do to reprogram the nervous system. But they don't take actions to compound that belief. So it's a belief and it's lovely, but your articulating and activating system is going, listen, it took a lifetime to program me. You're not going to program me with saying something 5 times in front of the mirror for a week. It takes compounding the evidence. It takes actions that compound the belief. It takes consistency and it takes repetition. And that is the real work. That's the work that I do. And that is why I'm so passionate, because I know that business over here and personal development over here, they're a match. Your business is a reflection of your internal thoughts, beliefs, doubts, fears. It's all showing up in your business. If you want to know if you're holding on to beliefs and fears and doubts, look at the results in your business. Because the results in your business are showing you where you need to go, where you need to process, where you need to let go, and who you need to be. Because I operate on a, sorry, there's hair in my eye. There it is. I operate on a be, do, have. Sorry, there's just something in my eye. So a lot of people are thinking, oh, when I have 10K in the bank, then I will invest in the high level mentor, then I will do the photo shoot, and then I will be a high level individual or entrepreneur. And it's like, it actually is the opposite, because what you're telling the universe is that it's outside of you and it's over there. It's when I do this, or when I have this, then I'll do this, and then I'll be this. And actually what you're doing is you're literally pushing out your vision. You're repelling it away, and you need to shift. So it's about, right, so I want 10K in the bank and I want to do a photo shoot. But who do I get to be right now in this moment to do those things so I can have what I want? And it is about a way of being committed, responsible, trusting, authentic, genuine, loving, compassionate, connected. They're all the ways of being. So if you ask yourself, if I had 10K in the bank today, who would I be? I would be confident, I'd be convicted, I'd be loving, I'd be certain, I'd be authentic, I'd be happy, I'd be excited, I'd be... So like, you think of all those ways of being, and then how you would feel. Like, I would feel so excited and so relieved, and I feel so grateful. And when you lock into the ways of being, and then how that being makes you feel, and then say, right now, what will I do? In that energy of who you're being, right, what will I do? Okay, do you know what? I'm going to book that photo shoot because I am confident, I am convicted, I believe, I am loving, I'm abundant, I'm grateful. Of course, 10K is already done. Photo shoot is just a blip. It's a step. So you're going to do the thing from the energy of being her so that you can have. And that might sound a little bit confusing, but if you really think of be, do, have, who am I being first? Because a lot of us think like, oh, what do I need to do today? And it's like, no. Who are you? Who do you need to be today? So who do I need to be today to do the thing that's going to move the needle so that I can have the results in my business? Who do you need to be? What are the ways of being? Lock into who you're being. That's your identity. That's leadership. And when you lock those, because I can tell you, if you're being fearful and doubtful and insecure and resentful and angry and righteous and superior and judgmental, think about it. Like, from that energy, what are you going to do? Probably just sit in your phone and look at someone else's page and wonder why it's not happened for you and feel sorry for yourself. And what are you going to have from that? Nothing. So be, do, have. And that's why I created my mass movement method. My mass movement method. I just came up with that there now. I'm not going to lie. I just came up with that there now. Now I had mass, and then movement method just literally came. So mass is my framework, and it's the methodology that I use. And it's not linear. Like, it's not like we're going to take this and this and this and this and this. It's not. But I use them. I guess it's a method or a framework that I take my clients through. And it's mission. So what's your mission? What's your vision? Like, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your business results to look like? Then it's awareness. awareness of the patterns, the conditioning, the programming, the people pleasing, the overthinking, the overgiving, like recognizing how you are who you are, the connecting the dots. Oh, right, okay, so I look for validation because as a kid I didn't get it. Okay, right, all right. I am a people pleaser because I lived in chaos, and in order for me to feel safe, I was the one who solved everything for everybody. All right, okay, great. I am a perfectionist because when I was growing up, anything less was 100% wasn't accepted. So I always felt like I needed to do more to receive the validation, love, acceptance that I always wanted. Like there's so much to it, right? The next thing then is safety. This is your nervous system. This is training your nervous system to feel safe. Feel safe holding more responsibility, more clients, more income, more eyes, more visibility. And I do that through EFT and just subconscious work in the moment. Because if you can shift, if you can notice in the moment, like have that awareness and go, oh, there's that thing. There's that fucking people pleaser coming up again. Okay. Who do I get to be? Regulate your nervous system. And then I'm safe. Like this is my anchor. I always have an anchor and it's my hand on my heart. I'm safe. I'm safe. No matter where I am or what it is, might have nothing to do with like actual danger, but I always kind of like that's my anchor to tell my nervous system I'm safe. So even if I'm going into a call and I feel like maybe I'm going to get hot seat coaching off some 7, 8 figure mentor, I'm like, I'm safe. Because those experiences are expansive, but they're also quite frightening if you've never been there, and they're unfamiliar and they're uncomfortable. So safety is huge. Creating safety in your nervous system, holding more, being more, doing more visibility, more responsibility, more money, more clients, feeling safe. And then it's subconscious reprogramming. So awareness is one thing, like I said, it's great having the awareness, but there's subconscious actually going back and really dismantling the story and recognizing the belief and the core and where it is and how it's showing up and where it's self-sabotaging, and then rewriting the story over and over and over again, and creating a narrative about yourself. Now I do a lot of this through higher self activations, where you go back and you meet your higher self, or inner child activations. I don't call them meditations because I'm not a meditation teacher. Do you know? So I'm not going to call myself, but activations are just where I create these bespoke experiences for you based on the fears and insecurities and things that you have experienced, where you get to go back, and maybe it's something that you do for 10 minutes every day, and you get to rewrite the story and reprogram the nervous system and create the new neurological pathways in your brain to believe that this is who you are now. So it's about putting new meaning on the past, because like I said, everything is neutral until you put meaning on it, and at every opportunity you get to put new meaning. Everything, you just blank canvas. Like it's not hard, it's just a choice, but it comes from the identity work, it comes from the beliefs, it comes from the reprogramming, and it comes from having support and someone there to see the blind spots and say, well, I can see you're doing this, and I can see this, or I can see this is a gap. Or like one of the most important things I do with my clients, and like everybody talks about, is holding up the mirror of saying, like, this is what I'm hearing you say. And sometimes when I say that, they go like, is that what I said? I'm like, well, yeah, in a different way, but that's what you just said. It's like, oh my God, I never saw that before. I never saw that perspective. I never saw that lens. And holding up the mirror to someone is the most powerful giving thing that you can do, because you're serving that person by showing them the gaps that they can't see, showing them the parts of themselves that they've been avoiding, that they've been resisting, in order for them to have the breakthrough, to release, let go, and move on with a new set of beliefs, new set of values, new set of beliefs that create the thoughts, that create the feelings, that create the emotions, that create the actions, that create the habits, that create the results. Boom, that's how we go. And then the last thing is execution. So MASSE is MASSE, and the last one is execution. And again, this is something that a lot of people leave out, is executing the work, doing the thing, taking action without the evidence, even when it doesn't make sense, but being the person who takes action with a soul-led action towards their vision. Not taking action for the sake of it, going through the motions, everything's in motion, going through the motions. No, like taking really committed action towards your vision, interrupting the patterns with the action. Because again, it all has to work. For MASSE to work, it has to be in conjunction. You have to be moving towards your vision. You have got to recognize the patterns, connecting the dots. You've got to feel safe. You've got to reprogram the subconscious to believe it. And then you've got to execute so that you compound. So mass movement method is a full body recalibration so that matches your external, so that your identity matches your strategy, and so that your vision matches where you're going. And that's why I created it, because it's lived experience. I have been there, done that, bought the t-shirt, and let me tell you, hustling for success will only get you so far. Hustling for success will eventually recreate a situation that you have probably avoided. And that is because you haven't healed the wounds. Because as long as you're avoiding something, it will keep coming back up and back up. Like if you have a particular character in your life, the type of person who maybe represents someone from your childhood, and you haven't gone and healed that part of yourself, that caricature is going to show up throughout your life. It might have it will have a different face, but it will be the same person. It will trigger the same feelings inside you until you heal and let that part of you go. And that's why, sometimes you see maybe a friend who keeps going back to the same kind of guy. And like every time she's with a new guy, it's the same type of fella who's just like no good for her. That's because probably she has a wound from her father. So she has kept attracting the same person in her life, because the universe is saying, you need to process this. You need to heal this to stop this person reoccurring. So every time you're triggered, look at it as a sign from the universe that you get to heal this part of yourself. Because everything that's a trigger is an opportunity for healing. It's an opportunity for releasing, and it's an opportunity for transcending something. And that is why a lot of businesses fail, because people don't do this work. They don't alchemize their identity and their leadership to where they're going. And then they wonder why they can't see the results, or people are passing them out. It's because you haven't alchemized yourself and you haven't calibrated your identity to feel safe. Is this version of yourself? And there's a death. There is another death. And like I said, I've experienced a lot of death, but there's the death of that identity. And it's hard letting her go, because she's kept you safe. And she's kept you there, and she's always been your company. And like, I don't look at that identity of that person or that people pleaser as like she was a bad person because she kept me small in my business. She kept me safe in my childhood. But now it's time to lay her to rest, because I don't need her anymore, because I don't feel unsafe anymore. So it's about letting go and laying that old identity to rest, so that your new identity has space to emerge where you're leading your legacy business. And that's kind of like, I'm kind of at the end of what I'm talking about, and I don't even know how long I've gone on, but I hope you've enjoyed what I am talking about. And I want to let you know that like every perceived failure as a business, is an opportunity for you to look at the feedback, to not just strategically look at the data, because you do need to look at the data, but also to look at like where you didn't show up, in your fullest power, where you could have done more, not where you could have done more, but where you could have shed more, where you could have done more internal work, where you could have recognized that there was an internal misalignment that needed to be aligned in order for you to have the results. Failure is feedback. There's no such thing as failure. It's feedback. And no matter where going to your first 5, 10, 20, 100K months, the shit is still the same. And the mass work needs to get done either way. Can't avoid it. Can't avoid your past. You can out hustle it. Maybe you can out drink it, but it will keep reappearing in other forms, in other ways. And every time, it's not a bad thing. It's the universe saying, please, this is your time. This is your time to level up, to transcend. Now, I am hosting a 5-day live activation called She Leads. It's going to be kicking off on the 8th of September. There's going to be 5 live Zoom calls where I am going to be looking at the beliefs that keep most people stuck and small, and how they can be tracked back. I'm going to be really getting into the mass movement method a little bit more, but also I want to really look at how you can dismantle the past. Where is your conditioning and your past experience holding you back? How is self-sabotage showing up in your business? Because it shows up differently for everybody. And then how you can create where you can lead from your vision, not from your past. So She Leads is going to be very much me teaching all of you how, where, and what you can do, so you actually can implement strategies, so you actually have something like daily practices that you can start doing to rewire your nervous system for safety, not struggle, where you can start dismantling the stories that are feeding that reticulating activating system, so that that will start picking up opportunities for abundance, for wealth and prosperity, and where you can start understanding how you can let go and lay your old identity to rest so that your new identity can emerge and take your business to where it's going. So I just have a little bit written down just as a closing statement. I wanted to read this down, and I really wanted you to just sit with this for a second. If you've ever been broken open by grief, betrayal, or failure, I just want to remind you that it doesn't end there. Death is never the end, it is the doorway to possibility. And my resilience was born in hospital waiting rooms. It was born on the bathroom floor. I'm going to get a bit upset over that because that was tough days. It was born in finance meetings where I was accused, betrayed, and broken. And every time I chose to be reborn. So ask yourself, which part of you has to die for your next level to live? And if you led from your vision, what would you do differently today? What action would you take that would be different if you were moving from your vision? And what meaning am I choosing in this season? So what are you choosing to believe about yourself in this season of your business? So, sorry, I get a little bit, I get a little bit emotional. It's a lot. I lead for the life my mother never got to live. That's my fuel. And my mission is to create a legacy in her name, because the one thing she said to me the night before she died was, I never even made it to 60. Live your life. And that I am. And I'm doing it in her name. So if she couldn't have it, I damn well will. And so will my children. And so will you. Because I'm not just going to stop a change in my life. I'm not just going to stop a change in my children's life. I'm not going to stop until every woman realizes that she has the capacity within herself to create anything that she wants, to live any way that she wants. And I'm grateful that I had to experience all the shit in my life that has gotten me to here, where I get to impact you amazing people and show you that betrayal and rejection and failure and death is not the end. It is the doorway to possibility. So you will find me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is BizCoach Antoinette. Please drop in to the DMs. Have a chat. I would love to hear from you. I would love to answer any questions that you have. And if you would like to do some work with me, I have opportunities in my one-to-one program. And I also offer short intensives, because sometimes I know that committing to long-term investments can feel a little bit scary. And especially if you have never done something like that, it is again important to align your belief with your vision and your strategy. So I offer quite short intensives also, where you get a real opener, a real kind of, it's like we just pick the scab a little bit and see what's underneath, so that you can elevate, so that you can grow, and so that you can change the narrative for the people in your world. Just like I'm doing for you, you get to do for others. So please reach out. I would love to know if this landed. I hope this resonated. I hope that if you are feeling like you have been rejected, or that you've lost people that you love, and life feels hopeless and business just feels hard, that, you know, there is a way where you can create an alignment of business and identity and let go of the past and move on. And before I finish, please sign up for She Leads, because I'm going to be going into this in a lot more depth. And if you like, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, sign up, come onto my Instagram page, hit me up with a DM, and I would love to hear from you. So thank you so much.